Hey everybody, back to the TrailRider, and this video is a little more detail on how to actually install the components on the TrailRider. So we'll start up here with the various controlling devices. So the cycle analyst, the throttle control, and the digital toggle switch. So nothing too fancy here, just installed this along this bar. These on all of these devices, it wasn't a perfectly snug fit, and I found that the throttle and other devices would spin. So simple fix, just grab a piece of inner tube, wedge it in there, and from a bike tube, just wedge it in there, tighten it down. All right, not rocket science. Got some spiral tape or whatnot going around a lot of these spiral casing to go around all of these cords. The tripwire is installed pretty much per the discussion, per the instructions. I just used tie wraps for that. I could have drilled a hole, but this seemed simple enough, and if something were to happen, I could readjust it accordingly. The wiring just follows the frame. You just want to make sure that the wiring wouldn't get pinched or elongated when you collapse the top of the TrailRider down for storage. But otherwise, that was pretty simple. The two hardest pieces of doing this install was the disc brake and mounting the battery. So maybe I'll talk about mounting the battery first, and then we'll come around to the disc brake. By far, actually, the disc brake was the hardest. So mounting the battery was actually not too bad. So the seat comes off, and there's these slots here that are made for the seat belts. So what I did is went to Ace Hardware and found these rectangular shaped bracket bolts that are used for framing, and got those. You can see they run down here. This plate came with the frame device, the frame piece. Put a couple washers under there, and then went down, got a sheet of steel, which I had to notch out here and on the wheel side in order to create the necessary clearance away from the wheel. All right, so if you're gonna do this, you gotta notch this out. This is just steel and a jigsaw with a metal cutting blade. Skill saw with a metal cutting blade was simple and easy. In order to keep this plate from shifting up and down, I got these two. I got one piece of square hollow tubing at Lowe's, measured it up, cut it again with the skill saw, and just placed them in there to create this flush edge with the bottom of the steel plate. And then I've got the nuts with nylon on the inside to prevent slipping, so non-slip nuts there. So I've got that set up both sides. This was, once you kind of know what you're trying to do, it was pretty easy. And you just measure your battery. I will say on the battery, this is a 36 volt Shark battery. You may want to go with a different, this 36 volt 14.5 amp hour. You might want to go with a slightly different battery configuration. Might be able to find something a little cheaper on Amazon or whatnot, and then run that into the Baserunner. And with that setup, maybe you could use this space right here. But overall, this is how we mounted it. No issues. It doesn't want to move at all. Feels pretty good. If it were to get impacted, it doesn't want to move up either because of these placements right here. All right, so that's the battery attachment. The cables are on the other side. It is a little tight for the on-off switch, but it works, and the key lock. Oh, and there are 3 screws you have to mount through the bottom in order to secure the battery, but that's pretty straightforward, I believe. So that's the mount of the battery. The harder part of this is getting the motor with the disc brake attached. So actually the bolts from the motor and the nuts that came with it fit just fine. You have to do a little jiggering to get the wheel straight straight relative to the TrailRider. But the brake, lining up the brake, the disc brake, was very difficult. So this is a new disc that we ordered and mounted it on to the hub motor. It has the mounts for that. But the trick is the tolerance between your brake caliper and this brake and the heads of the screws that are on the other side, on this side of the disc, and this metal bar is very tight. We had to order a 1/2 millimeter spacer in order to get this to work. So our recommendation, if you get this one, get it, depending, I don't know what the tolerances are that TrailRider uses when they make these, but we needed a 1/2 millimeter spacer, metal spacer, then the disc brake disc, and then the screws, and we actually had to loosen the caliper and adjust that to get it all into configuration such that it would spin, the brake would work, and so forth. That was by far the most complicated, and we had to sit and wait for Amazon to send us the spacer and so forth. All right, that's it.